Welcome back into the Big Trail Show. Kevin McPherson and Jacob Morris with you. Another edition of the Hog Hoops Report. And Kevin, we've got to talk Oklahoma and Arkansas. The Sooners thoroughly handling Arkansas 79-70 in Tulsa. Start to finish, offense and defense, the Sooners pretty much had Arkansas beat. It was a tough outing and another, we'll say, addition to the slow start for the season for Eric Musselman and company.
Yeah, Jacob, you set it up. Really the key was they beat Arkansas inside and out. Arkansas was competitive. There are going to be stages in basketball games where the better team, you're hanging right there trading blows. And what makes teams that are good teams, and OU's good. They're 9-0. Second, they've beaten some high majors, including a previously ranked USC team at a neutral site. But the difference is those teams can sustain good basketball for 40 minutes or most of 40 minutes. Arkansas cannot do that. Arkansas's got too much dysfunctionality. Is that a word? There's too much dysfunction going on both sides of the ball. And even though when Arkansas sound for stretches, they're not long enough. And they have self-inflicted wounds. And it feeds right into what good teams do. And Oklahoma took advantage. Oklahoma's been a team of big runs. And I go back to good teams can find ways to have extended periods of time of playing, capitalizing on the other team's mistakes, helping cause those mistakes, and then capitalizing on them. A 14-2 run in the last 4.5 minutes of that first half. It was basically night time. Now, Arkansas did have a 6-0 run to start the second half. Got it, cut that lead in half to 6. But then a 15-2 run. And part of that run was Eric Musselman ejecting himself effectively. And there were some technicals handed out there. OU hits 2 free throws as part of his double technicals. I think there was a technical that was assessed on an OU player. So that technical and Musselman's first technical cancel each other out in terms of each team shooting free throws. And OU just gets the 2 free throws on Musselman's second technical, but he gets a short trip to the locker room. That's the second time in 3. Let me see if I can say it right. Crimson and Cardinal Classics, 2 out of the last 3. And make no mistake, those were games that Arkansas was getting its butt kicked and its name, I guess, stepped on. 22-point loss 2 years ago. This was a 9-point loss. It felt like a 20-point loss. And the margin, sometimes the scoreboard's not an accurate reflection. Arkansas got some cheap buckets late. Both teams emptied their bench. And that felt like a 15 to 20-point loss. Even with that little surge at the end, but it was a 9-point difference. But really, you talked about it inside and out. Oklahoma was a team coming in, was really good at both ends, inside and out at both ends. And so it's really hard to find a ton of weaknesses in attack. And this is an Arkansas team that struggles, Jacob, with ball movement. We know the prior 2 games, they did better in that department, much better, but it was back to dribble, pound, pull up for a 3. Arkansas took too many threes in the first half because they couldn't figure out how to get penetration and move the ball. Second half, they did a better job of trying not to do that, but the lead snowballed so early. First 5 minutes, I mentioned they cut it to 6. It ballooned up to 19. That was OU's biggest lead at that time, 52-33, and that game was over. That's too big, but you can, theoretically, we see comebacks, right? We see big comebacks at second halves, but a team like that against a team like that, it wasn't going to happen. And you saw OU control the rest of that game up until the last minute or so, again, when Arkansas made the scoreboard look a little more respectable. But OU on the glass, OU on the assist, Arkansas won a few categories. Turnovers barely, points off turnovers was break even. Arkansas had 7 steals, 6 blocks, did some good things. You saw Jalen Graham, who'd been persona non grata most of this season, have hit probably his best game when you looked at the energy plays, a putback dunk, some block shots and deflections, rebounding. Mekhi Mitchell did some good things at times. But when Trevor in Brazil, who by the way got the start, very much questionable after rolling his ankle late against Furman on Monday. You had 4 or 5 days in between the games there. He got the start, but only 15 minutes and didn't score. And you saw Tremont Mark really in his second game back, first start since getting hurt against North Carolina in the Bahamas week before last. Gosh, that seems like yesterday. But he's bad back-to-back games now where he's been unable to reach double-figure scoring. So we can make excuses. I think the biggest thing right now is from top to bottom, everybody's got to be accountable. That starts with the head coach all the way down. Arkansas 6-4, 4 non-conference losses. Jacob is the most by double that Eric Melsman coached team at Arkansas 5 years in. I didn't go back and look at the Nevada record, but here it's always been no more than 2 losses in non-conference play. 13 non-conference games, by the way, 3 more to go before you get into SEC play. But they've never had this many losses, and I don't think in all of their previous bad runs, they've had some bad ones, 5, 6, 7 game stretches that were not good. I'm not sure that they've had this many question marks on both sides of the ball as they do right now, because defensively they're having a hard time stopping anybody. OU had its way on that end, over 50% all game long. Both teams shot well at the free throw line, but Arkansas is not getting enough cushion there. They're not getting enough cushion in the turnover department. And when the other team's better than you at both ends, you got to find those little areas where you can stay in the game and find a way to stay in. Arkansas didn't stay in long enough.
Yeah, and I think you said it right. It boils down to if you get beat on the offensive side and you get beat on the defensive side, I'm not sure what the game plan is for staying with the number 19 team in the country. Obviously, we knew there were some defensive issues, but you mentioned Tremont Mark, 2 of 10 from Caleb Battle as well. So the backcourt that at least has been able to score, even if the ball movement hasn't been there all season, just didn't really show up for the Razorbacks. Week off now until Saturday's matchup with Lipscomb in Little Rock. But let's shift the conversation to recruiting and talk Little Rock. A couple in-state guys I know you got to see. Class of 2026. What did you see on the recruiting trail for the Razorbacks?
Well, Thursday night and then last night, I went and watched two special players. Arkansas's produced some really good next level, pro level guys when you go back to Isaiah Joe in the backcourt. Some of the 6'5", 6'6" range. These two we're going to talk about are in there, but Isaiah Joe, Moses Moody are a couple that come to mind from in-state. Nick Smith Jr., 6'5". The 2 players in that 2026 lesson, there's some really good players in 2025 in state that Arkansas is prioritizing, but I've put eyes on these 2 younger players. Like I said, here toward the weekend, Jacob Lanier, we talk about him a lot, out of Maumelle, a combo guard. He can play the 1, he can play the 2, the 3. I put a lot of video out on Twitter, on X, of some of his craft and his dribble drive, some of his inside out ball handling craft to set up, and then his shot is so effortless, so buttery smooth. But he's got a high floor IQ. He makes great passes as a lead guard. Now he's getting stronger. You start to see him develop physically and go in there and get rebounds and play more of that tougher brand. So he's starting to put things together, but just an outstanding player that I got to see. I hope people go to X and find, search Jacob Lanier. Go look at some of these recent videos that I put out of his play. He is, to me, this young man's a 5-star. He's rated in one service inside the top 30 as a 4-star, so a top 30 guy. But as more and more of these services get to see him, the recruiting writers, analysts that cover basketball this spring and summer, I feel like he's going to be. If he's not 5-star status, he's knocking on the door. This guy's a special player. The same with Jashawn J.J. Andrews, another 6'6" guard wing out of Little Rock Christian Academy. Got to watch him play last night. Matching up against one of the top players in the country from the 2024 class, Missouri pledge Keonor Boateng. They guard each other at times, and Jashawn J.J. Andrews is explosive. He's very quick for a 6'6" guy. Reminds me of some smaller, quicker guards in the way that he's able to attack with quickness. His ball handling skills have improved on his slash game, getting to the basket, getting to his mid-range. He set up and knocked down a corner 3. He's a lefty. But he is a 5-star, national top 20. When you look at the composite rankings, already a 5-star, part of the Team USA junior national stuff that they do with the mini camps and what have you. But this is another special player in Central Arkansas to that 2026 class. Both of these young men have been recruited by Arkansas. They both hold Arkansas offers. They've both been on unofficial visits. These absolutely doesn't matter what what your plan is using portal. These should be prime number 1 recruiting targets in that 2026 class for Arkansas. Arkansas is also looking at Jalen Montanati. Recently took a visit to watch that Duke game out of Owasso, Oklahoma. 6'7". He's a top 10 5-star. That's part of your footprint recruiting. You want to recruit him. But these 2 young men in Central Arkansas would actually complement each other because one can play the 1. Both of them are multi-position versatile. But I just love both of these players, and I think these guys are going to be pursued by everybody. I think they're both going to end up finishing as 5-stars when the dust settles, barring something weird like injuries. And I'm telling you now, I'm forecasting it. These are the next two to keep an eye on in that 2026 class. I don't want to leave out 2025's Terrion Burgess and Isaiah Seeley. Also special players, also on knocking on that potential 5-star door. But the ones I put eyes on the last couple of days, the future is bright in the state of Arkansas, as always, when you look at the high level of talent in this state that can continue to feed not only at the high major level, but hopefully the Arkansas Razorbacks if they prioritize them right.
I think it's a great point about even if the plan, right, is to keep utilizing the portal at a high level, when you have kids of this caliber in your backyard, you got to prioritize it. You got to make it a focus in terms of recruiting. Shifting gears here and wrapping up, Pro Hogs, Oklahoma City, Golden State matching up, and it was really kind of an Arkansas meeting, right? Eric Musselman in Oklahoma City. 3 guys in action. What did you see? I know you had a chance to get up there and watch the guys battle it out.
Yeah, it was good to be there. Musk got in early. He had that, he was trying to get back to Tulsa. Obviously, the Arkansas had a basketball game the next day. But so he got in early and did some photo ops. I think he was out of the building before the game tipped, I believe. So he's got that special access no matter where it is. He knows everybody connected like that. But yeah, I mean, it was great to see, Golden State and Oklahoma City have already played 4 games this year. 2 of them have gone to overtime. Another one was a controversial finish. The last time they played in OKC on a Steph Curry drive, looked like Draymond Green might have interfered with the shot, touched the rim while the ball was still in the cylinder. They initially call it a goaltending and then reverse it after review. I've never seen that, but this has been a great matchup already this season. 4 games down. In Oklahoma City, it goes to overtime. Oklahoma City prevails by 2 points. Isaiah Joe was on the court when overtime started, hit the first 3 points of OT to get OU out to a 3-point lead, a lead the Thunder would never give up. It was not a high production game for the Pro Hogs, but all 3 of them were on the court together as early as the first quarter. Moses Moody. So I'm getting highlights and videos I'm putting out as the game goes on, like I do any basketball event I go to. It was a lot of fun, but it just tells you the presence of the Pro Hogs around the NBA. And Eric Musselman understands how important that is, how important those photo opportunities are, because you're constantly marketing your program. You're showing recruits we don't just put guys in the pros, but we're here. We have a presence with these guys. They make sure that you see this, so they do a great job with social media in that regard. But these guys all have impact. They're all in the rotation right now, all 3 of these Pro Hogs. And that's a big deal because they're all still very young in their career and they've already figured out on good teams, by the way. These are not developmental teams. These are good teams. I mean, Moses Moody's playing behind a Hall of Fame backcourt, coming off the bench, sometimes starts, when some of these guys have a night off or what have you. And then Isaiah Joe's, probably in the argument, averaging 10 points a game, one of the elite 3-point shooters in the league, leads the NBA in net rating, one of the top defensive players. He and Jalen Williams both in the top 10 in drawn charges per game. Isaiah Joe's plus minus is number 1 also on the NBA box score plus minus among all reserves. So you're watching some really quality Pro Hogs, not just guys who made it that are part of the clapping 5 over there. These are guys that are playing in the rotation and impacting wins and losses. Most of it positive, by the way.
Yeah, I think it's a great point about the more you put this out on social media, it shows, right, the brand for Arkansas, and it helps out. And, I had an opportunity to talk to Jordan Walsh the other day, and he talked about how Arkansas did a great job of connecting with guys already at the pro level. And now he feels like once he's in the NBA and the G League that he can have a kind of constant stream of communication with guys like that. And always nice when there's 3 Arkansas guys on the floor in a 10-man NBA game. But that'll do it for this week's Hog Hoops Report. For Kevin McPherson, I'm Jacob Morris. More Pig Trail Show on the other side of the break.